Because the real question here is, we can say you can't drill on public lands, we can stop offshore drilling, but the real question here is how do we curtail the market? There is an issue here about money. Why is it that the United States Congress has never passed climate legislation? Money. Because the oil and gas companies are worth trillions of dollars, and they like to make hundreds of billions of dollars. And they can't do that, and their valuations will change if suddenly people start going, this isn't an ongoing business, this is a liquidation of the reserves, some of the reserves that are in the ground, if you think about it. I've been saying for 10 years to Wall Street, you gotta start thinking about it differently, and they've sort of been looking at me like, yeah, right. So actually, that's going to, the sticky issue here is not, it's really not about jobs. The sticky issue here is about money. And that's why the export ban really matters, because we're going to have to move away from this, and we're going to have to convince the other countries of the world to move away from it too. And that means, you know, the numbers are that 2/3 of the coal, oil, and gas reserves in the ground cannot be developed if we're to survive. That is, so we have two realities here. We have the scientific reality, and then we have the reality of the financial markets. And they're going to collide. And the sooner people realize that, the better it's going to be. Because the valuations imply that that's never going to happen. And it's absolute, this is like the mortgage crisis. You know, people thought, at some point it will blow up, but I have no idea when. Well, when it blows up, things change and there's a lot of money at stake. So that's why we have to both have a real plan for this. We have to plan for the workers. Net, it's a huge plus for American working people and for the country. We'll be richer. People will be better paid. We'll be healthier. But we have to make sure we manage the change in a way that people aren't hurt.
Do you want to respond to?
I appreciate that plan because you know, I come from a background of being a contractor that did gas pipelines and transmission lines and was able to transition into 20 years ago into the renewable energy industry. And I did it largely by being cross-trained by the IBEW and using those skills to go into a new field, but training from the IBEW helped make that happen. So I appreciate that plan.
Do you guys know the IBEW is the International Brotherhood of Electric Workers?
Great. Well, thank you very much for this session. Our next panel is from the nonprofit environmental movement. It's Andy Majai, who's Executive Director of the Nevada Conservation League, and we'll have the same dynamic. Take it away, Andy.
Yeah, thanks for having us here today, and thanks for being in Nevada again, Tom. I'm Andy Magi. I'm the Executive Director of the Nevada Conservation League. And for those of you that don't know what NCL is we work to make sure that conservation and environmental priorities and values are political priorities and values. So we want to make sure that decision makers who are making the decisions for our air, our water, our public lands, our climate, are also champions for those values that we share. And I think right now, when we talk about climate change, Nevada is the place to talk about it, for good reasons and bad reasons. Unfortunately, we are a front line in the fight for climate change. We are getting hotter, we're getting drier. Las Vegas and Reno are two of the fastest warming cities in the entire country. And all the things that get exacerbated as you get hotter and drier are happening here. Wildfires, increased pollution. So if you have asthma, chronic lung disease, or heart disease, Nevadans are feeling the impacts of climate change today, right now. And if you are a person of color in Nevada or from our low-income communities, you are experiencing it at a rate significantly higher than the rest of us. And so this issue is something that in Nevada we're feeling today. On the other side, we have a great story to tell, I think because of that, because Nevadans are on the front lines of fighting climate change. Nevadans, number one, care about this issue. When you look at polling, research, this is a top 1 or 2 issue for Nevadans. It's why candidates are coming here and talking about it. We've also shown that candidates who run on this issue in Nevada win on this issue. I'm sitting next to Senator Chris Brooks, who comes from the clean energy world. He's in the state legislature. Commissioner Jones, also here. Our governor is a climate champion. Nevada has passed significant legislation in the last year, increasing our renewable portfolio standard, putting a plan. The governor recently signed an executive order to put a plan in place for Nevada to get to zero carbon by mid-century, right? Agencies are starting to work at that. So we care about climate change here, and we're showing the rest of the country what it means to invest in clean energy and invest in solutions. So I think both on the impact side, but also on the solution side, Nevada's a great place. And it's why this year, when we talk about making those political values, environmental values, we've partnered with some of our closest partners, Chispa Nevada, and the League of Conservation Voters on what we call the Change the Climate 2020 campaign. And that campaign is all about making sure that the next president is a climate champion, because 2020 is really our last best chance to engage and figure out what we're going to do to solve climate change. And so we're calling on all candidates to make sure that climate is a day 1 priority. It's not a day 10 or 100-day plan priority, but it's a day 1 priority. We're making sure that they're focused on 100% clean energy by mid-century. And when we say energy, we don't just mean power production. We're talking transportation, our built environment. Anywhere that climate pollution comes from, we want to make sure it's zero by mid-century. And that transition has to be just. Start with the people that are impacted the most and who are going to be impacted by the transition. Make sure we're doing it right for them. We're getting the benefits first to those that need it the most, and then go the rest of the way. And so that's what we're focused on. We're going to be focused on that between all the primaries that are going to start here in the next couple weeks through the November election, and I hope you'll find a way to join us in that.
Thank you very much. The Latino community, really thankful for that. A question for Tom is, executive action in your plan is critical, but can executive action get us as far as we need to get a carbon-free future? We've had some great bipartisan success in Nevada. What are you going to do to ensure bipartisan cooperation to get the congressional support for the big bill policies we need?
So executive action, even the emergency powers of the presidency, are clearly not going to be enough. I mean, I have a plan that really revolves a lot around setting rules and forcing the private sector to obey them and change, but it still requires $2 trillion, which ain't peanuts. So we're ultimately going to have to get congressional action. There are a lot of things we can do, and we'll start with them on day 1, but ultimately we do need to work together. Let me say this. This is not a question of compromising with Republicans. I'm sorry. This is a question of winning. If you look at what happened in Nevada, and I started Next Gen America, which is one of the largest grassroots organizations in the United States, did the largest youth voter mobilization in American history in 2018. And with our union partners, in the last 2 cycles, 16 and 18, we've knocked on over 25 million doors, including 500,000 in Nevada in 2018. So what really happened in Nevada? A lot of grassroots organizing, a Democratic governor, a Democratic state senate, and a Democratic state legislature. That's how we got things done. I personally spent, I think, 4 years working on climate from a bipartisan / nonpartisan standpoint. And that was with prominent Republicans like George Shultz and Hank Paulson and tons of CEOs of Fortune 50 companies. And I believe our efforts, which proved that actually dealing with this will make us richer, we'll have cheaper power, we'll grow faster, we'll be better employed, we'll be healthier, moved 0 Republicans. So as far as I'm concerned, how are we going to do this? We're going to start with executive action. And we're going to have to win through grassroots just the way we won in Nevada. And we're going to have to do it because the facts are overwhelming and the American people all agree with us, including Republican voters. But we're going to have to break these oil and gas companies because they really, really like to make hundreds of billions of dollars. And they view that as their job, that they're representing the shareholders of ExxonMobil, not the citizens of Nevada or California or Florida or the United States of America. So I want to be, look, I worked in the private sector for more than 3 decades. And here's my opinion. In World War II, after Pearl Harbor, we had to do a huge military buildup. We were way behind. The Germans and the Japanese had been at war for years and they had huge war machines. And FDR asked the big 3 auto companies, okay, we need to catch up. What will you give to us in terms of production? We need to build tanks and ships and planes. And they said, they thought about it, and they're patriotic Americans. And we said, we'll give you 20%. We know we need to win the war. And he said, I have a different number in mind. 100%, or I will shut you down. That's my opinion. That's where we are. And by the way, those companies did just fine in World War II. They did just fine. But we need the government of the United States to represent the people of the United States in this. That's what we need, and that's what we're going to push for. And we need to turn the page on this and a lot of other things. And so, we're going to win when the people of the United States insist on it, and that's going to be in 2020.
Elections have consequences. In español, las elecciones tienen consecuencias. Use it wisely. Andy, would you like to respond to Tom?
I'll just say I think that's absolutely right. We're lucky in Nevada. We don't have a very robust fossil fuel industry here on a permanent basis. So that task for us is a little easier. But I think it is one of the reasons that through this Change the Climate 2020 campaign, we are trying to make sure that all candidates do reject PAC dollars from the fossil fuel industry. So people are put over polluters, and that's something we try to do every day here in Nevada with our decision makers.
We've worked a lot together.
I will just say, I forgot to mention in my talk about all the great things that happen in Nevada is that ballot initiative to increase the RPS past like 60% to 40%. So thank you for NextGen's partnership and work on that.
Thank you very much. So our next panelist is County Commissioner Justin Jones.
Thank you so much. And I just want to echo Annie's comments. My wife had the opportunity to work with you and NextGen on that campaign. And so you guys know, we have a lot of campaigns that come in and they like to tell us what to do here in Nevada. Tom and NextGen came in and hired Nevadans to run a campaign and actually listen to them. So thank you for that. I got interested in climate when I was 17, reading Al Gore's book, Earth in Balance, and that sort of circles around things throughout my life. I got elected to the County Commission a year ago. I had the opportunity to participate in Al Gore's Climate Reality Leadership Project training in Minneapolis in August, and that was really a wake-up call, that I was in a position where I needed to make sure that we at the local level were doing everything possible to address the climate crisis. And so in September, I came back, did a presentation before my colleagues on the County Commission here, and as a result of that, laid out a multi-step process that will result in the adoption of a climate action plan later this year. The county has already joined the County Climate Alliance, which is similar to the U.S. Climate Alliance. We are in the process of hiring a new sustainability director. This last week, we concentrated all the functions of environmental programs in the county in a new department, the Department of Environment and Sustainability, to really elevate that issue within the county